The night had fallen with a heavy silence that pressed against the walls of Jonah Harper's isolated cabin. The wind outside whispered through the surrounding pines, carrying a chill that settled in the cracks of the old wooden structure. Jonah, a man known for his quiet and solitary nature, had spent years avoiding people, seeking refuge from a world that had offered him nothing but betrayal and disappointment. His cabin, far removed from the nearest town, was his sanctuary, a place where he could think, breathe, and forget the chaos that had defined his life. He had lit a small fire in the stone fireplace, the flickering flames casting elongated shadows across the worn furniture and old photographs that lined the walls. The smell of burning pine wood filled the air, comforting him in a way that no human presence ever could. Yet tonight, despite the calm and familiar surroundings, Jonah felt a strange tension coiling in his chest, an unease he couldn't shake. There had been a knock at the door earlier, 3 soft raps that sent a shiver down his spine. Though when he had opened it, no one was there, just the empty snow-laden path, the moonlight reflecting off the frozen ground. He had convinced himself it was the wind, playing tricks on his mind, and had returned to the warmth of the fire. Yet the sensation of being watched lingered. Hours passed, the fire dwindling to glowing embers, and Jonah, feeling the weight of fatigue, decided to retire for the night. He undressed quietly, every movement deliberate, almost ritualistic, as if honoring the silence that had become his only companion. Sliding into bed, he pulled the thick quilt over himself and closed his eyes, ready to surrender to sleep. But then he heard it, the softest of sounds, almost imperceptible, the brushing of fabric against floorboards. His eyes snapped open, heart hammering, as he strained to see in the dim light. And then she was there. She crawled into his bed with a fluid grace that made the air itself seem to shiver. She wore almost nothing, only a thin, translucent garment that clung to her body, leaving little to the imagination. Her skin glimmered faintly in the glow of the embers, and her dark hair fell like a curtain over her shoulders. Jonah's breath caught, but he remained perfectly still, unsure whether to confront her or flee. Her eyes, intense and unblinking, met his, and in that moment, the world outside ceased to exist. "It's an Apache ritual," she whispered, her voice soft but commanding. "You must remain silent, or the spirits will curse you." Jonah swallowed hard, the rational part of his mind screaming that this was impossible, that this was insane, yet something primal, something deep and inexplicable, told him to obey. He stayed silent, his body rigid but his mind racing. She shifted closer, the warmth of her body seeping through the thin quilt, and began a ritual that was strange, hypnotic, and alluring. Her movements were slow, deliberate, almost like a dance passed down through generations, her fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air above him, as if summoning forces unseen. Jonah could feel a tension building within him that he had not experienced in years, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and a longing that had lain dormant beneath the years of solitude. He remained perfectly still, allowing the strange ceremony to envelop him, letting the unfamiliar sensations wash over him. And then she spoke again, her words laced with a mysterious authority. "Do not speak. Do not move. Tonight the spirits test your resolve. They test your heart." The hours stretched, the night thickening around them, and Jonah felt something shift within himself. The fear that had gripped him at first slowly transformed into an almost sacred reverence. This woman, this enigma, had appeared like a force from another world, challenging everything he believed about life, intimacy, and the boundaries of reality. He realized that this encounter was more than a ritual. It was a mirror held up to his own soul, exposing desires and truths he had buried deep under layers of isolation. She whispered stories of her ancestors, of sacred dances performed under moonlight, of spirits that demanded silence and surrender, and Jonah listened enraptured, as if every word was a key unlocking doors long sealed. And then, just as suddenly as she had arrived, the ritual reached its crescendo. She leaned close, her breath warm against his ear, and spoke of a path that could alter the course of his lonely existence. A path of courage, vulnerability, and awakening. Jonah felt a surge of emotion he had not permitted himself in years, a conflation of fear, desire, and the exhilarating uncertainty of surrender. He stayed silent, not out of obedience, but out of a newfound respect for the power she held, not over him, but over the fragile, unspoken corners of his own heart. And when she finally rose, slipping from the bed and into the shadows from which she had emerged, Jonah remained still, staring at the dim embers, aware that nothing in his life would ever be the same. As dawn approached, painting the sky with pale streaks of gold and rose, Jonah rose, moving quietly to the window to peer into the forest that stretched endlessly beyond. No trace of her remained, only the lingering scent of her presence and the echo of her ritual. His mind raced, filled with questions, doubts, and an undeniable hunger for more. And as he stood there, the fire of curiosity and longing burning brighter than ever, he knew one thing with certainty: he had to understand her, the ritual and the truths she had awakened within him. To anyone who might doubt such a story, he would say, the world is larger, stranger, and more magical than we allow ourselves to believe. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that awaken the mind, stir the heart, and challenge everything you thought you knew.